All right, we're live on air. Welcome to the Sweet Talk. My name is Kim Matina. I am the host of your show tonight. I am a Google certified trainer and a product expert in the Google for Education Help Forum and CS First Help Forum. Today is Monday, December 3rd, 2018, the first day of Computer Science Education Week, which I have to mention. I have my shirt on, which I was supporting computer science today, I'm happy to say. And I'm very lucky and thankful that my friend here, Melissa Lopez, has joined the show and agreed to share her expertise. Melissa is a EdTech specialist or technology integration specialist in a K-12 school district for 2 years. Plus, she has experience teaching high school English for 4 years. So she has a lot of classroom experience dealing with English and ELA and techniques on how to help students be successful in language arts. So today, Melissa is going to go over how to utilize Google Docs and teach vocabulary with built-in features. So welcome, Melissa.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm fine. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
No, I know I scheduled you a while
Way.
back, I think back in September, and I was like, oh man, I hope she remembers that, she's coming on soon. So I sent you like a reminder just because, it's been a while. And then, so I'm thankful that you were able to squeeze me in tonight.
Oh, I was excited about it, so it's been on my calendar. I was ready.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Now I know like I said, you were a high school English teacher, correct?
Correct.
And
I taught
then
10th grade.
10th grade. Okay. So what were some of the things that you saw students in that grade level struggle with?
My class was really, it had a lot of different levels. So I had ESL students, I had dyslexic students, I had students with special needs. So one of my biggest issues was just spreading myself thin enough to where I could meet all of their needs. So technology played a really big role in that, just kind of helping me differentiate and give kids, exactly what they needed when they needed it.
And what were some of the things that you tried? I mean, obviously, it sounds like you were a Google for Education school district, correct?
Actually, I am now in a Google for Education district, but before we use Schoology, which is just a different platform. But I used a lot of the same assignments that I use now.
Okay. And then so show us and tell us like how you can use Google Docs to teach vocabulary because I'm sure I'm going to be passing a lot of this information along to teachers in my school, and I'm sure it'll be helpful for some of our viewers. So
Yeah,
why
so
don't why don't you take it away?
okay, I'm gonna go ahead and screen share with you. This is the document that I used most recently with some GED students at the local college. And so what I did was I put this into Google Classroom and I used shortcuts for the students to basically they can navigate throughout Google Docs without having to leave the page, but they can define the word success. They can find facts or characteristics by using the Explore tool. They can find examples of it and they can find images without ever having to leave Google Docs, which is, as a teacher, probably the most appealing thing because I don't have to worry about students getting off task. They're always where they need to be. And so the Explore tool, if you actually will just do one of these, Control Alt Shift I. If you look, this is the Explore tool, which I think is relatively new. And so students can, for example, search for fact fact about successful person, and then they'll have a web search pop up right there in their Google Doc. They also have images of successful people pop up. So I mean, to me, this is just such a powerful tool for teachers to use.
Yeah, I totally agree. So what was the keyboard shortcut that you did to get to the panel, the side panel there?
It's Control Alt Shift I.
Control Alt Shift I. Okay, and where is it in the menu? I
Um,
just want viewers to see it.
Definitely. It's right here under Tools where it says Explore.
Okay.
Yeah, and the great thing about it too is, so let's say that your kids don't like the shortcuts. I had some kids who loved them because they don't like to waste their time going through the toolbar, but then I had other kids who prefer going through the toolbar. So Google has so many different ways to access the same information. So if they go here to tools, they can get spelling, they can get their Explore, they can get their dictionary tool, and then of course they can get their add-ons right next to it. So that's nice
Yeah,
too.
I like how you put the shortcut, the keyboard shortcut in the Google Doc as well as, for the definition and the facts characteristics and the examples. That's actually a good idea too, because sometimes students can't find those in the menu, and having a keyboard shortcut right there is helpful.
Yeah, and I've found that it's a lot easier to write directions with shortcuts than it is with go to tools, go to explore. It's just a little bit shorter. So the kids aren't necessarily as, when there's a lot of words on the page, they get intimidated. So it's a little bit easier for them to access when it's just Control Shift Y.
So let me ask you this. This is probably a silly question, but it comes up where I'm at sometimes. I'm in middle school. Do they ask you to if they have to hit Control plus, Shift plus Y?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
they have asked me that. And so what we do is I always give them a tour of Google Docs before we begin. And then I always do the first box with them. So last time I taught this, I created a completely different one. I think the word that we used was perseverance. And I went through it with them. I modeled each box and then I had them do the one on success. And this was used to teach technology, but it was also used as a anticipatory set for a lesson that we were doing on success and what it means to be successful and, things like that.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yep. Always modeling is always a good idea. Students need to
Definitely.
see you go through the steps. But I really do like having the keyboard shortcuts written there. That's a really great idea.
Yeah, that was kind of a game changer for my GED students. I also teach GED classes at night, and they really enjoyed this. It was so accessible to them.
So what else do you do here for this model? So
Well,
you
so
showed off the Explore tool, which gives you information about like a web search and images, and
mhm,
that would show up like what box would that satisfy?
so for this one, for example, it was, facts and characteristics about successful people. So here, 12 things all successful people do. So then they can just click and go to an article. This one says they boldly fail, they set goals. So then the students would have to come in here and they would say, boldly fail, set goals. The define tool, they would go Control Shift Y, and then this would automatically become a dictionary. So they could type in the word success. And it depends on, who you have. I would definitely make middle schoolers or high schoolers kind of write it in their own words and then transfer it over. I wouldn't necessarily have them copy and paste it, but they could if they wanted to. It's just that simple. Um, then here for the examples, it's essentially the same thing as the facts and characteristics, but examples of find three examples successful people. So successful teachers, and then they would have to search here and try to find successful teachers or successful doctors, whatever it was in their field of choice. And then the image is probably my favorite one, just because I don't know, from my experience with high schoolers, kids like to wander off when they're searching for pictures. So, um, here, for example, they could find an image of a successful person. And let's say we wanted to search Obama because he's a successful person. They could just click on the picture, press insert, and it'll automatically insert itself into the box that they were supposed to go to. So, Frayer models have been proven to be really great at teaching vocabulary. And by doing this online, it's just a little bit easier for teachers, especially if they're using Google Classroom. And it's easier for students. And, we're not drawing pictures, we're actually searching information.
I like that you brought it back down. For me, this is like really basic because this has been built into Google Docs for years, really. The ability to it used to be called a research tool years ago,
Hmm.
and
Right.
they updated it and everything, and so that the functionality is still the same, but they added some more, some more features about it. And I'm really glad that you brought this in and talked about it and is showing it off, because I think people forget that these features are really here and they work harder to obtain certain information when they really don't have to. They
Absolutely.
students can just do all this stuff right within a Google Doc and not get off task, like you said before. So I'm really glad that you're reviewing it, because it's always good to refresh someone's memory. I mean, you can be an intermediate or advanced user, and just having this, like a refresh, brings it back home, and then maybe you'll end up using it and utilizing it in your class, because sometimes we always think we have to do things, um, we have to integrate technology, but we always have to integrate the most difficult stuff. No, we don't. We can keep it basic and we can keep it simple. And these are fundamental tools, I feel, that are available in Google Docs.
Yes.
That's my opinion, because they've been around for years, you know. So I'm glad that you're bringing this forward and bringing this to light, because I think it'll help other people.
Well, and I really think it helps students with that whole college and career readiness as well. I mean, just showing them that they have these at the tip of, at their fingertips. They don't have to go to a teacher. They don't have to, necessarily rely on others for this information. They could literally go out and get it themselves. And so simple activities like this kind of show students that this is very manageable, that these tools are here for them to use in any assignment. It doesn't have to be an online fair model. It could be, a paper, which I taught writing, so I know how hard it is to teach, a class of 35 high school students how to write, especially when you're focusing on things like, did you use the correct word? Did you use, maybe you should use something other than awesome 10 times. So, and this also has a synonym, you can find synonyms as well. I believe it's here in the tool. Actually, oh, if you highlight the word, and then you right click, you can also get synonyms in the define tool. Why not? Do you remember there's a synonym, a place where you can get synonyms as well?
I thought it was in the Explorer.
I thought so too. Hmm. I'm gonna have to look, but I definitely know
Yeah.
that they can. There is an online thesaurus here as well, which, is also really helpful for students. And there's also an add-on, which is a
Well,
thesaurus as
that's
well.
yeah, you could use the add-on, but I thought it's not in tools. It's got to be in there somewhere. I remember I thought it was in there somewhere.
Doesn't look like it, but you know what? We can.
Maybe it's in the file menu.
Oh, perhaps.
No.
No. Mm, well, I'm gonna do what I tell my kids to do.
Look it up.
Always go to the help. Box help. This is another thing I always teach my kids to use.
It's not in the define. It's not, like, if you define success, it wouldn't be, or if you
Mm.
pick fail, like, or goals, maybe it's, and you hit define.
Oh no. Didn't pop up for there either.
Hmm.
It shows you an antonym.
That's part of the define. I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe maybe we're looking in the wrong spot.
maybe. I definitely saw it today earlier.
Yeah, unless, like you said, I mean, I know with the add-on, there's an add-on in there for it, but
Yeah, definitely. There is an add-on. Unless it's, yeah, that's odd. I know there isn't a shortcut for it like there is for the define tool. Maybe in Explorer. Oh, I'll have to find it and put it in my notes because I know it's here.
oh, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, no problem.
But that's pretty much all I had.
Now,
Um,
do you use any add-ons with
yeah,
your
I do.
students?
Yeah, so here I have another Frayer model that I use, but it's not for vocabulary, so I call it something else. I call it a self-editing tool. And so it teaches them all the tools that they can use to edit their papers. So language tool is one of my favorite. And basically, you go to add-ons and you add it. You go to language tool and it'll check your entire paper. And I shouldn't have too many errors here, but all the errors will pop up on the side. And what I love most about this add-on is that it even checks grammar. So like I said, 30 kids in one class, in one writing class. You don't always have time to check everyone's grammar, but this way they can check it on their own and check spelling, grammar, and capitalization. Um, um,
And that was language tool?
mhm,
Okay.
language tool. And it also checks their punctuation.
And then, so if you find if it finds or flags an error, then what do you do? What is your workflow?
So for
Do you
example,
use Google Comments to tell the student?
so this is a tool I have them do before I even proofread their papers.
Oh,
Because
okay.
again, it's I'm all about empowering the student to do as much as they can before giving it to me. I want them to be independent. So I say, go ahead, did you use your language tool? And they'll use it. And then, all their errors will pop up. So they'll have to go through and say, okay, is Frayer really misspelled? No, it's not. So I'm just going to X that out. When they're done with the self-editing tool, then absolutely I'll go through and, add a little comment. But usually my comments are more about flow and, did you adhere to the prompt? Did you stay on task? Those are the kind of things. But yeah, it's great just for them to take into their own hands. And then two, there's also easy accents, which we have a lot of Spaniard teachers here. So they use this when they're teaching their students. And basically it has all of the accents that you would need. So, oh, that's weird. But let's say it was Spanish. Like the ñ, for example, you can't get that on the keyboard. So that's also a really great add-on that we used a lot in writing. And
So
then
how do you use that? So when you start typing, you would just use the add-on and select the letter.
yeah, so for example, let's say we want to do cafe, right? Um, cafe, I believe, has an accent on the E. So highlighted the E and then I clicked on it and then there it is.
Okay. And then how do you get the capital E?
Oh, that's a great question.
Unless it
Oh,
just
actually, yeah, let me cap lock it. Oh no.
like
Oh,
if
I
you
did
type, oh,
shift.
there you go.
Yeah, I did shift and then I clicked on it and the capital E appeared.
Okay. Gotcha. So just like you would type a capital letter.
Yeah, but it didn't work with cap lock, so it is a little different in that. You just have to press shift. But this is great too.
That's a good tip because
Yeah.
I know that's definitely now. Are there a lot of languages available in there?
Oh yeah, there's tons. So it's kind of funky the way that it just popped up on my computer, but when you open it up, see there's tons of them. And again, I don't know why it's not showing on my page, but there's Croatian from what I can see, Lithuanian. So yeah, there's a really big mix, which is nice. And
Okay. That's good
Spanish,
to know. Yeah.
yeah, Spanish teachers could really benefit from that.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
And then my other favorite one is the Translate tool. And again, this has also been here for a while, but me personally, I had a lot of students, Spanish speaking parents, and even some Vietnamese speaking parents, or different languages. So you can translate anything you want here from English to Spanish or Spanish to English. So with my ESL students, even though I encourage them to write in English, if they were struggling with a phrase, for example, let's say they couldn't remember how to say car in Spanish, I mean in English, they could, instead of asking me or asking a friend, they can use this to translate the word car from Spanish to English. Oh, that's not car, that's coffee. Okay, that's definitely not car. That's coffee. Uh, let's try milk. Let's see if that works. Oh, okay. Oh, coffee was highlighted over here. Sorry. Let's try now.
Does it have to be in the doc?
No, you should be able to type it there. Oh, there you go. It worked that time. So milk. So if you have an ESL student who's struggling with their writing and they're pretty fluent, but they forget words every once in a while, then this is a great tool too, because you're giving them, you're empowering them to find the answer on their own.
Yeah, I like that because, like you said, it gives them the flexibility of, if they forgot something, they can definitely find out on their own how to translate the word. Now, do you use the tool in Google Docs to translate a document?
Um, I've used it before, but when it comes to one word things like this, I always use the
You
add-on.
always use the add-on. Okay.
And it's only because this one is a little bit more accurate, I think. Since it's only focusing on short phrases or one word, I just found it's a little bit more accurate with students.
Okay. And what language do you feel is more accurate, like the Spanish?
I will say Spanish to English. I mean, I don't know many of these other languages, but I do speak Spanish, and so yes,
Okay.
I've seen it's pretty accurate with the Spanish and English.
Because that's what I hear, like with Google Translate. Um, I hear Spanish is it's the most accurate translated language than
Hmm.
the other languages. So you kind of have to just proofread after it translates everything over to make sure it makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I would, I would try to find somebody who maybe spoke the language I was translating into
Hmm.
before giving it to someone just to kind of double check. But I've never
Right.
had any issues with it.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I mean, that's actually a really good tip too, because like you said, it goes over short, 1, 2 words,
Hmm.
phrases. It's not going to take a whole sentence, correct?
Correct, right.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if a student is writing something and they get stuck on something, they can just do that activate that add-on, find the word, and put it right in their story. Which is
Exactly.
cool. Now, so can you go up to your tools menu?
Hmm.
So, okay, so I was doing a PD session. I was helping somebody out. She was an ESL teacher, and she needed to translate the document to a different language. So I told her to go to Tools, Translate Document, and I remember that that option takes the document and it actually translates the entire document, copies copies the entire document to a new document, and it translates it into that language. So then at that point you have two versions of it, one in English and then one in the other language. Have you ever
Oh,
used this
no, I
option?
haven't. Mm-mm.
I don't like, she liked it. And then I also told her about Google Translate, as you know, of course. But she liked this option because it gave the student a whole separate document that was translated. So that's what, you know, she enjoyed that option. But me personally, like, I never really used it with students. I never had the need to use it, you know, with my students in my class. But
Right.
that that feature is here as well, you know.
That would be a great feature for bilingual classrooms, though. Maybe not so much for ESL, but a bilingual class, they teach equal amounts in English and in Spanish. So if you did need something like that, this would be a great tool for those kind of teachers.
Yeah, because you can create the document in English and
I'm
then
gonna
you can
try it.
translate it into their native language. You can choose a language and then it'll translate that English document into that native language for that student. So you can have five different students in your class with, you know, five different languages and translate that document for them
Right. Oh yeah.
specifically.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
Now, whether it's accurate or not is another story. I mean, I heard, like I said, I heard this. The Spanish was the most accurate.
Well,
You
as
know,
of right now, it looks pretty accurate. I mean, I'm reading through it to just kind of see, if there's any errors, but it looks pretty accurate. I see here, for example, it didn't translate boldly fail, but it's probably because, maybe there isn't a word in Spanish exactly to describe that phrase.
right, right.
But it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, see that? Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used Google Translate, but I've actually never used this feature, which is very cool.
Yeah, like I said, I've just showed the one ESL teacher how to use it and she liked it a lot, you know, because she could always go back to her English version of the document if she needed to and then translate it to the students. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But I do like your add-on tips because to me I think sometimes um, going simple is easier, and I
Hmm.
like I like the language tool for the students that they can actually go in, check the spelling and the grammar of
Hmm.
their document without having to go into this big full-blown extensive add-on.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, it's just quick, gets to the point. So, you know, not saying that other add-ons are bad. It's just sometimes you just need something quick to get done, you know?
absolutely.
But yeah, I like those add-ons. Those are cool. I'm going to share them with my staff at my school next week when I do my GTMS EdTech tips.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And you taught me something new with that translate document
The translate
too.
document. Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, no problem. I'm glad. See, we learned together, right? That's what it's all
Absolutely.
about.
Definitely.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or is that kind of
No, that's pretty much it. I just kind of wanted to share. I know how hard it is to be an English teacher, and how hard English teachers work to make sure that students are getting everything that they can in that hour that they have them. So, just things like this that are so simple to use, I've really found are game changers in the classroom. So, thank you for letting me share it.
Oh, no, thank you for being on. I'm glad that you were able to share some of your expertise and your workflow to help others. I think, like I said, I think sometimes keeping it simple is easier than doing the whole difficult workflow. When you can just get right to the point, it's just easier. And I think these add-ons here definitely help. And I really like your online model that you had, your chart. So can you put that template into the Google Doc?
Yes,
The agenda,
absolutely.
because I think that if someone can use that as a template, even if they like something that they saw in the template and they can recreate it on their own, it just gives people an idea of you know what you can do and something like that. And I like the keyboard shortcuts as well. I think I'm going to implement that in some of the things that I do because I'm always saying, okay, click on the file menu, then click on this, then click
Yes.
on that. So I think having the shortcut there is easy as well. So thank you for sharing.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Before you go, I'm just going to share my screen real quick, okay, Melissa?
Okay.
All right, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, if you want to be on the Sweet Talk, you can go visit my website. Here it is at bit.ly/, the Sweet Talk website. And you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at bit.ly/, the Sweet Talk channel. And if you visit my website, you can click on the guest tab and you can fill out my form to be a guest on my show, and I will email you back as soon as I can. Um, you can go to the episode tab and you can check out any past episodes that I had aired. The YouTube link and the show notes will be here. And I created a new page on my website called Subscribe so that you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I created a newsletter so that you can stay up to date on the latest episode of the Sweet Talk right in your mailbox. And I have it on a podcast as well. So I'm on Podbean and I am on Google Play Music. So that is it for tonight. Let me go back and see my friend Melissa here. All right. You see me?
Yeah, I see you.
All right. Well, that's the show. Thank you for being on. And like I said, I like how you just take it back to the basics. Sometimes we need to all be reminded of the basics, and these tools are here for us. There's they've been built in for years, and I hope that you can utilize them and try to make your workflow a little bit more efficient and faster and effective as well with these tools. So we always have to remember that they're here in Google Docs and utilize them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, I'm going to say good night and thank you for tuning in. And I will see you later. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Melissa.
Bye.